Okay, we're going to consider our little rabbit problem. So, a couple things that you might notice from the actual wording of the problem is that you start out with a pair of baby bunnies, and it takes them 2 months to mature to adulthood. Once they're adults, they continually procreate every single month. So, there's a lot of data to keep track of, and because there's differences between how quickly the adults procreate and then the difference of waiting for your babies to mature, we really have to organize things in 3 different sections. And I just, for the heck of it, called them adults, teens, babies. The other thing that's peculiar about this is you're keeping track of total pairs of bunnies here. They ask at the end, how many pairs of rabbits would you have in a year's time? So when she comes home in April of 19, she just has 1 pair of baby bunnies. And no teens, no adults, so there's 1 total pair. The next month, these little babies have matured to teens. They're a little in-between stage, right? So they still have a total then of just 1 pair. Now, as soon as these little teens become adults, they produce their own pair of babies, and then all together you're going to have 2 pairs. All right, so remember that every single month that you have an adult pair nesting here, they create another pair of rabbits, but the babies do not, because they have to mature. So at this point, you have your adults, you have these babies becoming teens, but these adults are creating another pair of rabbits. So altogether, that would give us 3 total pairs. Now, in August, these teens become adults, so you have 2 total pairs of adults. These babies become teens. And then you had your previous adults and your new adults creating babies. So altogether, you have 2 pairs of babies, which give us 5. Okay, now we have 3 sets of adults because our teens have grown up. These babies become teens, and we have 3 total pairs of babies. So we're starting to see that, oh, okay, the previous amount of babies are always becoming our teens, and the number of pairs of babies are going to reflect how many adults we have. So these patterns start to emerge. Altogether, those come to 8 total. In October, we have 5 adults, 3 teens, 5 pairs of babies. I apologize, I should have said 5 pairs of adults for a total of 13 pairs. Then in November, we have 8 adults, 5 teens, 8 pairs of babies, and altogether that gives us 21 pairs of rabbits. In December, we have 13 adults, 8 teens, 13 pairs of babies for a total of 34 pairs of rabbits. In January, we have 21 pairs of adults, 13 pairs of teens, 21 pairs of babies. In February, we have 34 adults, 21 teens, 34 pairs of babies. In March, we have 55 adults, 34 teen bunnies, pairs of bunnies, and then 55 pairs of babies. And lastly, in March 2020, 89 adult bunnies, 55 teen pairs of bunnies, 89 pairs of babies, for a total of 233 pairs. I apologize, I forgot to write my totals in up here. In January, that would have given us a total of 55 pairs. And then in February, we would have had 89. And then in March, we would have had 144. So our answer is 233 pairs. Now, this one, you kind of wanted to map it all out. There really isn't too much of a shortcut, but there are some interesting features about this that I do want to point out. What would that interesting feature be? Look at the total pairs column. Look at those numbers. What you indeed have is the Fibonacci sequence. These 2 initial terms are called your seeds, 1 and 1. Those add up to 2. Then 1 and 2 will give us a 3. Then 2 and 3 will give us the 5. 3 and 5 give us 8. Your 2 previous terms always total up to your next term. Fibonacci actually created and solved this problem. And this really was the impetus for coming up with his Fibonacci sequence. Now, Fibonacci, which means son of Bonacci, he was son of Leonardo Bonacci. He was an Italian mathematician. He's considered to be one of the most talented mathematicians in Western culture. He lived during the Middle Ages. He built the entire Hindu-Arabic numerical system, and he discovered that system while traveling with his father, who was a wealthy merchant in Italy. And what's interesting is he discovered this while, creating and working on this problem. But then scientists started to study the Fibonacci sequence and realized, oh my goodness, it is everywhere around us. And then they realized, hey, it's not only in science, even at the cellular level, it's also in a lot of architecture. Why? Because the sequence creates an extremely sturdy and stable arrangement. How so? Well, I'm going to let you look at the how so. I posted a couple videos that talk about the arrangement and how you see it a lot in the natural world, but also its relationship to the golden ratio and why that ratio is so prominent in society and with architecture and botany and in biology as well. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, yeah, so this problem was created by Fibonacci, and this here is our Fibonacci sequence. Another sequence that is just like the Fibonacci sequence is called the Lucas sequence. The difference between Fibonacci and Lucas is just that the Lucas sequence has different seeds. The seeds are 1 and 3, so it starts out with 1 and 3, and then it go 4 and 7 and so on. So it's just another prominent sequence that you will come up with or see in some of your different math classes.